Hey guys, David Clayton here with GuitarBreakdown.com, and welcome back to the second lesson in this series of lessons we're doing on bending strings. If you didn't get a chance to check out the first part, if you're watching this on YouTube, just click the description below and there'll be a link there for the first part. If you're watching this on TrueFire, obviously you know this is part of a TrueFire competition that we're involved in. So I think you just click above and you could see everything from the audition to every part that's available in this series. But thank you so much everybody for watching the first part. We did get a lot of good feedback and thank you for voting. We really appreciate it. We got one kind of funny comment. Somebody emailed and said, man, I didn't realize there's so much involved in bending. I didn't realize there could be a whole series of lessons based on bending. Obviously, I'm not bending enough. But it's true. There's a lot of different techniques that you may or may not know, and even if you do know, maybe you haven't explored a lot with them. So that's the whole point of this lesson series. We're exploring with a lot of different ways to bend in all different genres, country, rock, blues, all this kind of stuff, and it all gets mixed together in a very musical way. So hopefully we're going to show you a few concepts you don't know, and if you do know all these concepts, hopefully we'll show you a few different ways to explore with these ideas. So let's get to this lesson, and I hope you guys really like it. Thanks. So in this lesson, we're going to explore some chordal type bends. Now, this is often associated with country guitar, but don't let that discourage you or stop watching this video if you're not into country guitar playing. This can be used, like all these techniques we show, this can be used in any style of music. So you just have to find ways to make it work for your style, and you'll come up with some really unique things by doing that. Again, it's all about exploring. So what I mean by chordal bends, it's playing a chord and taking one of the notes or two of the notes within that chord and bending it and making it almost sounds like a pedal steel guitar if you use it in this particular way. Now, one thing to take note of is I'm using a guitar with a floating tremolo. You can get devices that go in the back and stuff that lock it down, or you can get a guitar that has a locked fixed bridge. And that's important because when you bend a string, it bends this bridge forward and all the other strings will go out of tune. So for me, I do this technique a lot in passing. I don't really sit on it, so it goes slightly out of tune and whatever. I mean, I deal with it. Or you can mask it with the whammy bar, and I'll show you that a little bit. But another thing I want to point out, this guitar has, this is just kind of a side note, it has a GB on it, and no, it doesn't stand for Guitar Breakdown. I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of people asking that. It's a guitar luthier here in town that I'm working with. Amazing guy, Greg Bach, makes great guitars. This is one of them. He's letting me use this to test it out a little bit, and he's building me a guitar right now. So I just wanted to let you know, I don't have an ego, that much of an ego to put my own Guitar Breakdown logo on there. So anyway, that's a side note. So this chord bending stuff, let's get into this. We basically, if you just take an A major chord, just a regular bar chord, right? If you just take, say, the A, D, and G string of that chord, you're playing the 7th fret, 7th fret, and 6th fret, right? To do this kind of bending technique, you lower one of those notes and you bend back up into it. So we're going to take the G string on the 6th fret and go to the 4th fret. And that's what you have. And now you're going to bend that back up to the 6th fret. So from 4 to 6 while you're holding the 7th fret on the A and D string. Now you could hear how that slight, you know, everything kind of goes out of tune, but it's a cool effect. And it's bringing you back to that sound. Now, like I said, you can kind of mask that going out of tune by giving a little vibrato with the bar. So then everything's kind of fluctuating and you kind of, I mean, it sounds out of tune the whole time. But it's a cool little sound. Right? Now, you can also make that minor. So if you have a minor bar chord, right? Now you have the 7th fret on the A and D string and the 5th fret on the G string. Right? And you're just playing those three strings right now. So what you do is you take the 5th fret of the G string, go down a half step, and you bend that back up a half step, obviously. And that goes slightly less out of tune because you're only bending a half step, which again doesn't draw this as far as a whole step. So cool little thing. Now you can go diatonically and do, say, you do A major to B minor, to C sharp minor, D major, and then E major. Right? And we're going to change something up in there, but basically it's just diatonically. You're doing the A major one, then you do the B minor one, then you do the C sharp minor one, and this, instead of going diatonic where you're bending that up a whole step, it's kind of a hard bend. So you switch it up and you do the same shape you did with the B. So you have A major, B minor, C sharp minor, then you have D major, then E major. Right? Really, really cool thing. And again, there's different ways of, you know, you could use this in soloing. It just doesn't have to be in this rhythm kind of aspect. You know, you can break it up and just do it for a second. Another cool thing is people have asked why, you know, we did that intro in the first video, because there wasn't a lot of bending in there, but there were actually hidden in there, and I wanted to come back to this. In that first intro of the first video, I did this little thing that Michael Landau posted on YouTube. I don't know if it's a new tune of his or if he was just fiddling around, but he started out by doing this. Right? It's just this, and it's got a real cool dissonant sound to it. And I actually forget the whole thing how he did it. Did something like that. But what he's doing, he's just taking that A major chord, instead of doing it the way we did it, where you're playing 7, 7, 4 bend to 6, he's doing the 4th fret on the A string. So he's playing the major 3rd instead of the 5th. So he plays 4 on the A, 7 on the D, and then he plays the 5th fret on the G, which gives you this you're playing the flat 7, or I'm sorry, you're playing the minor 3rd, bending it up to the major 3rd. So you're getting, and it gets a really cool sound. So it's sort of dissonant, and then it goes back in, right? As opposed to us playing that note, which is the 9th, going up to the 3rd. And that's, again, another perfect example of how you could use it in a soloing context, because it's just a brief little chordal thing. Great little sound. All right, so now let's explore a little further with that concept. What we're going to do is we're going to take the E major chord, and I'm going to show you 3 different ways to do different bends to get that major chord sound. So we're at the 12th fret, right? And if we do, again, we're taking just 3 notes of this chord. We take the A string and D string on the 14th fret, and I'm using the 3rd and 4th finger. And then you usually have the 13th fret on the G string. But what we're going to do, again, is lower that to the 11th fret, and we're going to bend that 11th fret G string up to the 13th fret. So you're bending up a whole step. You know, that's the same one we did here when we did the minor, and the minor, major, and major. So the first way is doing it that way. Right? And again, it goes slightly out of tune, but who cares? We're rock and roll. I don't know. Now, the second way to do it is the typical way that a lot of people do it, and that's taking, say, the E major pentatonic or C sharp minor pentatonic. Right? That's like the real, you get that pedal steel sound. And all you're doing is you're barring the 12th fret on the E and B string. And then you take the 11th fret, again, it's that 11th fret that we're really working with here. And you're bending that up a whole step to the 13th fret. Right? So that's one way, with some more bassy notes. And this is with the higher pitched notes. Now the third way is kind of a unique way that a lot of people don't really explore, and this is doing the E chord here in the 7th position. So you have the 7th fret on the A string, then you bar the 9th fret of the D, G, and B string. Right? That's just your typical major chord. It's your A shape down here. But what you're going to do is you're going to play the 7th fret with your first finger on the A string, the 2nd finger on the 9th fret of the D string, and then you're going to use your pinky on that 11th fret, or the 11th fret of the G string. So you get 1 fret apart, 1 string down shape. Now, again, here we are with this 11th fret on the G string. That's the one we're bending, so we're bending it again a whole step, but this time with the pinky. It's kind of a little hard. And you can hear how it all goes out of tune, but just a really cool sound though. And again, you're just getting that one note changing in all of these, but it's giving you that cool little slick pedal steel type sound. All right, so now we're going to explore real quick a way of using this kind of more in a bluesy rock kind of way. See if you recognize this chord progression using just these little bends. So you have, right? Obviously, if it's Little Wing by Jimi Hendrix. Now, that's a cool little way of, again, we're using it on a clean tone, but that's a cool little way of outlining the actual chords, kind of like we were doing here when we went from A major to B minor. You know, we're just outlining those chords using the bends. Well, here, when we were doing this bend, we were outlining E major, right? Well, if we go up to here, you're outlining G major. Then you go down a whole step, you do F major. You go down here, and you're doing C major. Up a whole step, you do D major. Well, that's the Hendrix thing. Right? You're going from G to F to C major, D major, and that's all D major, to E. So here you got G to E, to F, to C, to D. Right? And if you use a little gain, you get a little, again, this is where we did last time too in the first lesson, experimenting with using different distortion and stuff. You get more of a, just a really cool way of using this. Now it doesn't sound so country, it sounds more bluesy. Stevie Ray uses this, Hendrix uses it, all these guys used it in that kind of context. So the last thing we'll touch on here, like you saw in the last one, you can kind of use this in a soloing context. It doesn't just have to be I'm bending chords so I can only use it when I'm playing chords. You can mix it into your solos. So say you take like the A major position that we're doing, right? And then you have A major pentatonic. Right? You can take it where you start out with that little bend to get in the ear that whole chord thing. And then as you bend into that, you slide into that major third. And it's a cool little way to introduce that into a solo. Now that's just a little tiny example. You can end with those bends a lot of times, the ones that we did, those things. Those are nice ending chords as you're soloing. So like you take a lick, Josh Smith will do licks like this. then you can end on something like that, because it really brings it home. Like here, I'm on this chord. You could do, if you like positions up here, you can do, again, that similar sliding thing. Right? It's a lot of fun experimenting with this, and just, again, take it as far as you can. Use it in different chord progressions. Do that Hendrixy kind of thing where you're outlining the chords, but do it in maybe a 2-5-1 progression. Or there's just so many really cool things you can do with this concept. So I hope you guys really enjoyed that lesson. Stick around for part 3. We got a little more rocky, kind of heavier blues stuff, licks coming up. And if you guys like this, please do vote on this. If you're watching this on TrueFire, I think the voting's right over there. And help me beat the 2 marks, the C and the K. Evil guys, I'm just kidding. I actually talked to them on Facebook. Well, one of them on Facebook the other day. Really cool guy. So whoever you like on this, definitely spread the word and vote for whoever you like. And I really appreciate you watching this, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks.